welcome back to Nosy Joe's Motovlog. This is my coverage of MSXC Winter Series Round 7 at Greensburg, Kentucky. This is at the Russell Creek Motocross Complex. I'm in row 15, Senior C. You just saw the Vet C Class row 14 leave there a moment ago. I took a little different approach this race. I tried to start out a little bit stronger rather than play catch up. So because of that, this first lap was actually my best, and that's the one I'm going to use to show the track for this race. Sound like a little early start there on my left, but they didn't take advantage of it. I'm coming around the hole shot in 5th place. And again, there's 12 racers in my class, and I normally let more of them go through and kind of take a backseat approach. There goes Joe Brown, who was on my left at the start, going through and around everyone. He ends up in 1st place in this race on a Honda 250X. 250RX, one of the two, with the older 4-stroke wood spike. They had a little enduro section here for us with some tires and some logs. But yeah, I'm actually trying a little bit harder on this first lap. I felt like I wanted to try a different approach and not let everybody get so far ahead of me and then have to chase them down. I don't know if this approach worked out. It was kind of a fun first lap, trying to keep up with the guys that normally podium. And in some ways, I didn't do too bad doing that. As you'll see a little bit later, I catch up with them here and there. But then it made for a rough second lap for me, where I was kind of worn out and didn't do so well on the second lap and lost a lot of the ground. I did pick up speed the 3rd and the 4th lap, and the 4th lap was almost as fast as my first lap, and 4 laps was actually lead lap in my class. Even the winner didn't do any more than 4, and it was a real tight top 5. I think the top 5 guys all placed within 2 or 3 minutes of each other. Then it spread out a little bit, and I ended up getting 9th place, which is where I finished at the end of this first lap. But honestly, I was fairly happy with that. There was a couple mistakes I made, more so in the second lap, that cost me time in some of the areas that got a lot of backup. If they just would have gone a little bit differently, less people stuck on a hill, for example, would have made a big difference in how I placed. So I really don't think I ran too bad today. I think I felt, as much as anything, I felt a little out of shape, because with that last race, losing the rear tire, and only doing 1 lap, it really put me back to before Christmas, since I'd really done a full hair scramble race. So here's kind of the first pileup. And unfortunately, here in a second, I get tangled up with this Honda on my right. He's a guy in my class, and I knocked him off his bike, but we were both trying to avoid this guy on the left. But I kind of snake through here eventually. Get going again. I think the guy I knocked off ended up getting 6th or 7th, so he must have made up for it. I like Russell Creek. Every time you race there, I've raced there with different series. It's a little bit different course, but it's becoming more or less familiar to me each time I go now. Not a whole lot of new. I think I was doing the math. I think I've actually been here 5 times, or this would have been my 5th time racing here. I think 3 times with KXCR, and this is the 2nd with MSXC. It's a neat course because they got a lot of good elevation and different types of terrain, the creek and this and that, as well as typically you get to spend some time on the motocross track. We don't do a whole lot of the motocross track, as you already saw, but I think a lot of that was because it was pretty wet and they don't want you tearing it up. So one question I wanted to answer during this video is what I ended up doing on the rear tire. So I kind of weighed the pros and cons of different solutions. Bibs is the best way of just completely eliminating that problem. And actually that's what I ran my very first season 2 years ago, racing. And, they were fine. But what I came to enjoy was the adjustability for conditions that you get with a tube. And that's why I had more recently been running the ultra heavy duty tubes. If it's a fast dry course, you can run 8-10 pounds, and then if it's nasty, you can run 5 pounds, but I guess not reliably, as I found out last race. So what I ended up doing was going with a tubeless setup. I found 18-inch Tubliss Gen 2 off of Amazon for $86. And I thought, well, that's really worth it based on the cost of going to a race and not being able to finish or compete. So I did that. One thing they do require, you want to follow the instructions on that tubeless install pretty much to the T, and they say to run a new tire because you're relying on that bead to seal to the rim. So if you got something that's previously had a lot of stress on the rim lock or something, then it might not seal. So the only new tire I had laying around was this Kenda IBEX, and that was something that I was given at the TKO event last year. Kenda gave out some free tires, so I had it laying there. That was really the only thing I had without spending money. I'd planned on just putting the IRC VE33S back on, and some guys are saying maybe I could have done that, but it's like, well, if I really want to test out this tubeless and make sure it works, I need to follow the directions. So I did the Kenda IBEX and ended up having to buy like a mountain bike tire pump because they want you to put that at 120 psi. And my big 500-gallon air compressor, I didn't want to put that kind of pressure in it just to air up one small tube. So that also gave me the portability. It was like a $28 pump I got off Amazon as well, or I can just take it to the track with me and double check that that inner tube that gives you the bead lock and everything is good. So pumped that up to 120, and then I ended up running the main part of the tire as far as the performance that you're going to get at around 5 psi. And I want to tell you, this thing performed flawlessly on this first race, and that Kenda IBEX, I think the thing with this is it's just not real new. I think it came out 5-6 years ago, and everybody that wanted to review it already reviewed it, so you don't hear people talking about it a lot. But I think it's considered to be a hybrid gummy, maybe not a full gummy tire. But man, I had no problems with my back end during this race. Real happy with that. Still running the Shinko Fatty Cheater in the front, and I will say that I need to look at that tire kind of post-race and see what's going on there. But that tire did wash out on me a few times. I had it pushed through on ruts and stuff, so I was running 10 pounds on it, so I don't know if I was running a little bit high. I don't think I was. I think maybe maybe my traction just became a little unbalanced where the bike wanted to push because I was getting so much good rear traction. I think that was more of the issue, so I'm going to have to study up on that. I don't know if I need to make a suspension adjustment to compensate for that or what, but the bike was pushing a lot, or maybe I just need to be more disciplined about getting my weight up over the forks more. That's probably the issue. I probably just need to have a better riding position. But something I hadn't really noticed before this race, the bike wanting to push. So anyway, back to the race here. I'm doing a pretty good job of keeping up with everybody, even passing some guys. There's just a lot of guys out on the course today. It was nice weather, sunny, 44 degrees, pretty big turnout. This location's pretty popular with the Kentucky racers and the Tennessee racers that came up from MSXC. So I saw a lot of KXCR guys that I hadn't really been seeing at some of the earlier races. But yeah, a lot of guys out on the course. And at least this first lap, I feel like I'm passing more people than were passing me. I've been so tempted to do a little more tuning on my bike just because I don't like to leave things good enough alone. But I tell you what, I was happy that I didn't touch my carburetor. I've been maybe wanting to go a quarter turn leaner on the Bellatron needle. Yeah, everybody, you got up to this. I'll stop and talk about that here in a second. But we realized we'd missed a turn. There's Joe Brown again, leader for my class, there with the yellow Camelback. But it looked like someone broke some tape and we got off the course. So we're now headed back on course. I'm just following these guys because I don't really know what's going on yet. So I'm going to follow Joe. I figure he knows something. There's two Joes in my class now. So here we are on the red arrows, so I don't know what happened there. And they'd fixed the taping and the marking in the laps after this, so I never really felt like I missed a turn. Even rewatching this video, I'm not sure where I was supposed to have gone. Anyway, back to the Bellatron. Bellatron's dialed in. Every once in a while I think it's running a shade rich, but maybe with these colder temperatures that's kind of perfect because the thing pretty much, it idles right down, no choppiness. I'm able to run in third and fourth gear a lot, so the power's there, able to lug it or tractor it, so really no complaints on how this TE300 runs. I think, in my opinion, TE300, if you can't race on a TE300, that you can't blame it on the bike. It takes away all the excuses. It's just a great setup. So anything you see lacking here is just me, not my bike. Yeah, you see guys struggling for traction on these hills and stuff. Not me with the Kenda IBEX and the Tubeless setup. It's just point and shoot. So that makes me wonder, maybe Kenda's a tire brand that I've really kind of overlooked. I'm not ready to say that I'm going to change out from IRC, but I didn't have any money in this tire. And I was sitting there and I ran it, and tell you what, it did well. Now we get into some creek. Creek sections weren't too bad. There's definitely a little depth to them. I was getting water up on me, but coming out of them was sometimes a trick. I never had much issue, but oftentimes there were guys stuck on the creek exits. Just like that. But yeah, that's one reason I like Russell Creek. It's just a lot of variety. Oop, gotta get some mud on my camera. Again, these guys are struggling. I'm not having any problem other than bumping into them. The 302 strokes just singing. Times where I really wish I could have passed. I maybe should be more aggressive, but there's just a lot of places on this course that are kind of tight, and it seemed to me to be more risky trying to pass than just fall in a line. Oh, the rut took me out. That was one of those where I should have been carrying more speed, but I was just kind of following the guys ahead of me. Another little pile up here. There's Joe again, I think. This is one thing I wanted to prove to myself, which I guess I did, was that I could keep up with the top guys in my group. And I guess I can for a lap, or for portions of a lap. I just can't do it for the full length of the race, which I think some of that's conditioning, but I think it's just skill. I need to skill up. I think I also need to work on just being comfortable with carrying more speed. So that's kind of what I'm trying to force myself into. Oh, that was a front tire pushing through the berm. They'll pile up. Snake it through. So that was one of those where I wasn't really having any trouble, but you got to get around the guys that are. instead of just following the guy ahead of me. The guy was taking lines I didn't need to be taking. Struggling to hook up. I need to get around him. That's the thing, you can almost tell these small bore bikes. I'm guessing that was one of them. He's got to keep the RPMs up so high to keep momentum, and then he gains a lot of wheel spin. And that's the advantage of the 300. The 300 isn't so advantageous because of horsepower. It's just that you can be lazy with it, which cuts down on the wheel spin. You just don't have to ride it hard. It's just a more comfortable situation. And maybe if I was half my size, I could get by on a 150, but and I had a 250 for a while. I think I could ride a 250 again. But the 300 is just nice. Always can be riding gear higher. Yeah, so like I said, I had this front end pushing thing going on. I don't know. Again, I probably just need to get more weight on the front, but because I do like this tire. I mean, it's been very confidence inspiring. I know there's a lot of love for the M59. I think it's a Bridgestone. Maybe it'd be worth me mounting one of those up with the Tubeless in the front, but a lot of guys don't put Tubeless in the front. I haven't really figured out what the deal is there, but I noticed it's a more expensive setup where I only paid like $85 for the 18-inch rear. It's more like $110 for the front, so that might be a factor. I could just go to a bib up front. My friend Ed Vessler's got a video out. If you want to check it out, where he does kind of a hybrid setup where he uses an old bib kind of for half of the volume of the inside, and then uses a small diameter tube for the rest of it. So it's kind of like a poor man's Tubeless, if you will. So you have the bib on the outside, and if you get a puncture, no big deal, and then you're holding your bead and keep your adjustability on the rim side, on the inner. I could see trying something like that, so Ed and I've talked about that, and maybe I'll give that a shot. So I think that Honda that I passed on the hill just passed me in that group again. So I'm losing some places right now. Too many mistakes. talking about wanting to do tuning on my bike. I made a call to RK Tech Heads. If you guys aren't familiar with them, they're out in Idaho, and I think, in my opinion, they're the best guys as far as modifying two-stroke heads. They got a CNC mill. They reshape it, trim some off, to get the compression that you want. And so both my 250, which in that case on the KTM 250, I just sent them a stock head and they milled it. And they do that real cheap. I mean, it's like around $100, and it's a fast turnaround. Or they'll sell you their, a complete billet head that they make in-house, and that's what I got on this bike. And one thing I've been thinking about doing is a lot of guys on these 300s, if you watch Slavin's and check out his parts on his website, is a lot of guys will run an SX CDI ignition. So I was thinking about doing that. It's supposed to give you more power throughout the rev range, and so when anything that I see that'll give me more bottom end power, I'm for it. But what I wasn't sure about is, would that play nicely with the RK Tech head? So I gave them a call this week, and they basically said no, that their head by itself solves, nice pass there, solves a lot of the problems that the KTM 300 has, and you don't necessarily need, and I give it back up, that you don't necessarily need this SX head. You're not going to see the improvement. Now you might see a lot of improvement with the SX head if that's all or SX CDI box if that's all you've done and hadn't changed the head. But so anyway, that saved me $155 because that's what everybody wants for those, because I was ready to buy one. But again, I think I just need to stop messing around on this 300. I think I got it dialed in. So what I was talking about earlier as far as just getting at my average speed, I need to work on that. During this race, my best laps were in the high 32 minutes a lap. And the first and second place guys were running closer to 30 minutes a lap. So they've got a 2 to 3 minute advantage over me. So that means they're running 10% faster. So 10% is enough to be winning or getting just in the top 10. So that's what I need to work on, I think. Everybody that I talk to just says, it kind of comes with experience and more seat time. So I feel like, a lot of that's practice and training and conditioning. But yeah, just getting out there and riding more. And I feel that when I look at this video here versus I look at a video I made a year ago, I'm seeing my speed pick up. But every year there's new guys coming into the class, and they're faster too. So, and the guys you've been riding with are always getting faster every year as well. So you don't always see the improvement in terms of your placing when you're getting faster, because everybody else improves as well. So that's all right. These trees at Russell Creek are always tight. Kids playing. I will say one thing I took from my last race was this camera angle and setting. I'm using the super view again and got my camera tilted up so you just kind of see my tip of my fender there. And hopefully you guys are liking that too, but I think it definitely gives you a better view for what I'm seeing when I'm racing and more appreciation for the terrain. Get around this guy. The guy passes me like I'm standing still. Those guys just look like they're dancing with the bike. Well, anyway, I'm coming through end of the lap. There's a guy passing me again. And anyway, it was a good first lap. Wasn't able to maintain that, but see you guys next time.